Hello everybody, we'll talk about the blood. Blood is a part of your cardiovascular system. We'll talk about the definition of the blood, general characteristics of the blood, functions of the blood, composition of the blood, and two components of blood are plasma, which is the liquid part, and the formed elements. So these are two components of the blood. Plasma is the liquid part and formed elements are the blood cells. We'll talk about the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Those are three types of blood cells. Today we will talk about the red blood cells and plasma. So first, how to define blood? Blood is a special type of connective tissue. Why it is a connective tissue? First question. Blood is a connective tissue because it comes from an embryonic tissue that is called mesenchyme. So mesenchyme is an embryonic tissue. All connective tissues come from the mesenchyme. Since blood also comes from mesenchyme, it belongs to the connective tissue. Now why we say special type of connective tissue? Because blood is the only connective tissue which is in liquid form. Okay, other connective tissues are in solid form. For example, cartilage, bone, fat, coverings of the organs, tendons, ligaments, all those belong to the connective tissue, but they are in solid form. Only blood is in liquid form. And blood circulates throughout the body within a closed system. What is the closed system? Closed system is the cardiovascular system. That is the heart, cardio, and blood vessels, vascular. Okay, so your blood circulates inside the closed cardiovascular system. General characteristics of the blood. The color of the blood, we know that blood color is red, but the arterial blood, where you have more oxygen, the color of the arterial blood is bright red. Venous blood has more carbon dioxide, less oxygen than the arterial blood, and that's why the color is dark red. Now, when the oxygen binds with the hemoglobin, it gives bright illumination, and that's why where you have more oxygen inside the artery, the blood color is bright red. pH of blood. Blood is slightly alkaline. Why? Because 7.0 pH 7.0 is neutral. We know that, right? And you see the pH of blood is slightly higher than 7.0. That means alkaline. If pH goes below 7, that is acidic. Above 7, that is alkaline. So blood is slightly alkaline and the pH is between 7.35 to 7.45. Now if the pH of blood goes below 7.35, then it is called acidosis because it is moving towards acidic. right? Okay. If pH goes above 7.45, that would be termed as alkalosis. Okay. So now you understand that the pH of blood should be always between this narrow range, and it is safe. You see that even the pH goes a little bit below 7.35, it will not be acid. It will be acidosis, the condition, but still if it is 7.20, it is not an acid, because to be an acid you need to go below below 7.0. So it is safe in this way. Viscosity of blood is high, 4 to 5 times more viscous. Now viscosity means the thickness and stickiness of the blood. So blood is more sticky and thick than the water. Okay, so 4 to 5 times more than water. Okay, so that is the viscosity. Now the temperature is slightly warmer than the body temperature. So blood is warm, slightly warmer than your core body temperature. Volume of blood. Total volume in adult male is 5 to 6 liters and adult female 4 to 5 liters. Why the total volume of blood is less in female? Number one, female body size is smaller, so smaller body size in female, and number two, female has less muscle tissue in the body, more fat than male. So remember, muscle tissue has more blood than the fat tissue, and because of these two reasons, the amount of blood or volume of total blood is less in the female body. Functions of the blood. Blood circulates to transport. This is very important. You know that blood circulates 24 hours continuously, flowing or circulating. To do what? To transport chemicals. Transportation of chemicals. What are the chemicals? Blood transports gases. You know that. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, right? Blood transports nutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, molecules. Blood transports hormones from the glands to the target organs, right? So hormones. Blood transports antibodies to protect your body. Blood transports metabolic toxins, toxic chemicals produced by metabolism. So now you see, blood transports a lot of things. These are the important chemicals transported by the blood. Now let's see which ones are helpful for the body. So we know that we need oxygen, right, for the tissue. Carbon dioxide is not helpful. Carbon dioxide is produced by metabolism, so it should get out from the body. So blood will do what? Blood will take the oxygen to the tissue, and tissue will get the oxygen from the blood, right? Blood gets carbon dioxide from the tissue and brings it into the lungs, and lungs will expel the carbon dioxide out from the body, right? Nutrients, helpful. So nutrients are given to the tissue by the blood. So this is good. Hormones are helpful. So from the glands, blood will take the hormones to the target tissue or organ. Antibodies kill the microorganisms or antigens. So this is good one. If any infection occurs anywhere, then antibodies will help to kill the microorganisms. Metabolic toxic chemicals like ammonia, urea, these chemicals should be excreted, should be taken to the kidneys by the blood, and kidneys through the urine will excrete these to the outside, right? So you see uh, that blood transports so many uh, chemicals from one location or one place to another. That is the transport of chemicals. Regulation of pH by the blood buffers. In your blood, you have buffers. Buffers do what? Probably some of you know that buffers are the mixture of chemicals that maintains the pH. Maintains the pH. So blood has the buffers, those are called blood buffers, and they keep the pH between 7.35 to 7.45. Important blood buffers are, if you want to know the names, bicarbonate, buffer, protein buffers, protein buffer, and phosphate. Remember, those three are the most important ones. Phosphate buffer. Okay, so because of the presence of those three, bicarbonate, phosphate, and protein buffers, the pH of blood remains between 7.35 to 7.45. Coagulation. Two components of your blood helps in blood clot. One is a plasma protein that is called fibrinogen, and a blood cell that is called platelets. So the blood cells, platelets, and plasma proteins in the plasma called fibrinogens, these two components help in blood clot formation. Very important, right? Defense. Two components of your blood provides protection or immunity or defense to your body. One is called globulins, one type of plasma protein, and a type of blood cells called the white blood cells. So these two components provide immunity or defense. They fight or kill the microorganisms or antigens. Stabilizing body temperature. Blood, if the body temperature increases, what happens? Vasodilation occurs in the skin. So more blood flows to the skin, increase blood flow. In your body surface. Okay, so the heat will get out from the body blood easily. Okay, so that's how the blood lowers the body temperature. Help in excretion of toxic chemicals. Those are produced by metabolism. Continuously these chemicals are being produced in the body: ammonia, urea, uric acid, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is taken to the lungs, and these are mainly taken to the kidneys for excretion through the urine. Composition of the blood. Blood composed of plasma, which is the liquid, and formed elements, the blood cells. Okay, so three types of blood cells and the plasma. Now, if you take blood in a test tube, and so this is your blood here, 100 milliliter blood in a test tube, and if you centrifuge for few minutes, what will happen? You'll see the blood cells, red blood cells, go to the bottom, and then white blood cells and plasma platelets are here. So the blood cells go to the bottom part of the test tube, and the liquid part, the plasma, goes to the top part. And now if you measure this volume of the blood cells, it is about 45 milliliter. That means 45%, because total volume is 100, so 45 milliliter is formed elements. So formed elements, that means blood cells. Okay, you have red blood cells in most part of it, because the number of red blood cells is much higher. 99, more than 99% volume of the formed elements is given by the red blood cell. Okay, so red blood cell gives more than 99% volume of this 45 milliliter. Only about 1%, little less than 1%, which forms a thin coat here by the white blood cells and platelets. White blood cells and platelets. Okay, so this thin layer is formed by the white blood cells and platelets, less than 1% volume, and this is called buffy coat. Okay, so that is 45% by the formed elements. And now if I measure the liquid part here, which is the plasma, and this is about 55%. Remaining 55% is plasma. Okay, so that is the composition of the blood and how you can separate those two components. And the volume of formed elements, percent volume, which is 45% here, of formed elements is called hematocrit. Hematocrit, remember. So now if I ask you hematocrit, this 45% is given by which cells? 99, more than 99% of it is given by the red blood cells, and only less than 1% is given by white blood cells and platelets, because the number of white blood cells and platelets uh, is much lower than the number of red blood cells. Now let's talk about this liquid part, plasma. If you see the plasma, in plasma 92% volume is water and 7% is proteins, called the plasma proteins. Proteins in the plasma, okay, 7%. So mainly water, and 1% other solutes dissolved in the plasma. You know that hormones, antibodies, right? Uh, Different other chemicals, we talked about that, uh, are dissolved here. So only 1% other solutes. Now plasma proteins. There are three types of plasma proteins. We'll talk about that. Those are important plasma proteins in the blood. So we'll talk about those three types of plasma proteins, remember, soon. Formed elements, which form about 45% volume, called the hematocrit, includes the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, the number of red blood cell is much higher than the white blood cells and platelets. Okay, very high. So here same thing, you see, if you take blood and centrifuge, you will see the plasma and formed elements get separated, and plasma has three types of proteins I mentioned. Those are important plasma proteins: albumins, globulins, and fibrinogens. Okay, and other solutes includes electrolytes, nutrients, metabolic wastes, hormones, those. So the other solutes only form 1% volume, you know that, of plasma, and proteins, plasma proteins, give about 7% volume of plasma, and 92% volume is given by what? Water. Okay, and formed elements, you see the platelets here, 5 different types of white blood cells and the red blood cells. So red blood cells, 5 types of white blood cells, and these tiny cells are called the platelets. Okay, the hematocrit value is more in male than the female. Why? Because the number of red blood cell count is less in female. So that if you count the red blood cell in same volume or amount of blood, the number of red blood cell count will be lower in female blood. And we know that more than 99% hematocrit is given by the red blood cells. Therefore, the hematocrit value is less in female than the male. Why the count of red blood cell is more in male than the female blood? Two main reasons. One is in male body is more muscular, so metabolism is more in male, more metabolism, and you all know that metabolism needs oxygen, right? More metabolism, more oxygen is required, and red blood cells actually transport oxygen. So that's why in male body you have more red blood cells. Another is a hormone, male sex hormone, testosterone, that stimulates the production of red blood cells. So because of these two factors, the count of red blood cell is more in male than the female. Okay, so we now know that three main plasma proteins are albumins, globulins, and fibrinogens. There are other regulatory proteins, a very small amount. So I'll just mention one or two important functions of the albumins. Albumins provide the osmotic pressure, which is called colloid osmotic pressure, that is given or provided by the albumins. What is that? Why you need that? This is your blood vessel, for example your artery, okay, and blood flows, you know that, through the artery this way, right? And this pressure given by the albumins try to keep the blood towards the center. That means pull the blood towards the center of the blood vessel. Okay, prevent outwards pressure. So that is the function called the colloidal osmotic pressure or colloid osmotic pressure, and that helps the blood flow fast, more efficiently through the blood vessels, because the pulling pressure is towards the center. So blood will try to remain and pass through the center of the blood vessel. Now if colloidal osmotic pressure is lost or decreases, then what will happen? The blood will tend to move towards the wall. The pressure this way will, outwards pressure will increase. So what will happen if the pressure increases towards the wall? Through the wall, some liquid, fluid, or water will come out from the capillaries or blood vessels. Makes sense, right? If pressure increases towards the wall, instead of going this way, more this way. So that will cause edema, accumulation of fluid in the tissue. Okay. Uh, these plasma proteins are mainly produced in the liver. So in liver cirrhosis or liver damage, what happens? The production of plasma protein decreases, right? Makes sense? So if someone's liver is non-functional, then what will happen? The production of plasma protein will decrease, and